So you can see the enormous collective energy and creativity that goes into Carnival San Francisco. So multiply what you just saw on this film by many, many groups. And this is what Carnival San Francisco is. So if you've never come out, we would like to invite you to come out to our 40th celebration this year. Yeah. It's a big anniversary for us. We want everyone to come out. It's going to be bigger and better than ever. And you're going to see not only Sambafunk, but many, many other groups. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panel. And we're going to introduce you all one at a time, and then I'm going to let you introduce yourselves. But I'd like to start with the man of the hour, King Theo. Yeah.
11119. Oh, 6, yeah.
And just a very brief. We know a lot about you already, as we saw you on the movie, but just a little background.
Hello. I am a Carnavalesco, and I fell in love with the African drum beat when I went with my mom to a dance class, and I didn't know, she was there to go with a friend, to pick up a friend, to meet a friend. It was at Mosswood Park, and it was taught by Ruth Beckford. If we have any dancers in the community that may know that name, but it's a historic name in Bay Area dance. She was one of the pioneers that studied with Catherine Dunham and brought the Dunham technique into the Bay Area. I didn't know that at the time because I was a child, but these drums were playing, and I have to say that these drums haunted me for years and years and years and years, and I didn't know what it was. I was raised Pentecostal in the Church of God in Christ, so I heard these drums haunting me in my sleep over and over and over, and I didn't know what it was until I finally went to Atlanta, and I took a West African dance class, so I heard it, and I was like, oh, these are those drums. So that's what led me to being involved with the Carnival. I moved back to California around the new millennium, about 2000. I was introduced to Folk na Ropa, as you saw in the film. That's my parent group, the organization that I started Carnival with. And my teacher was Mestre Carlos Estutuno. He was capoeira mestre. He was a dancer, teacher. He graduated from San Francisco State. And one great story about him, and I'm going to let them do their thing.
Yeah, real quick.
He had a strong Latin accent. And because he kept his accent, a lot of people thought he was fresh off the boat and he was a new immigrant. So they would try to take advantage of him all the time. They didn't think that he understood business because he kept his strong accent. But what they didn't know is Carlos graduated from Mission High School, and he also had a degree from San Francisco State. And he was he not only a great artist, but he was a short and smart cultural ambassador. So that's the person that I learned under. And so what you see there is what we did when I was part of that organization, and I just wanted to bring my own flavor to it. So
thank you. Well, our next panelist is really why we're here today. We would not be here screening this fabulous film if it wasn't for our filmmaker.
Yeah.
And that is Iwalani Venerable.
Yay!
And I want you to come up.
Iwi!
And if you could just give us a real brief backgrounder on why you wanted to put together this film on Sambafunk.
Hi everybody. First of all, just thank you guys for coming tonight, and thank you Moad for putting this on, and thank you Paula for coming to me about getting this on. It's been quite a few years since the film was made, and I actually made it because I was just so inspired by the people that I met through the group. I was inspired by the community that I was seeing being built through this group. And I was a beginner, a novice coming in. You know, I had only been to Carnival as a spectator, you know, coming to the mission, getting drunk, seeing the dance, seeing the colors, and thinking that's what it was about. And then getting involved in this community, learning about the cultural depth that it held and the significance and why it was so important. And I thought a lot of people were like me, not understanding that cultural depth. And I wanted to be just a vessel to provide that knowledge, because I felt a lot of people were in the same boat as me. And I'm just very grateful to have finished the project, because I kind of feel like I bit off more than I could chew. You know, I'm a very beginner filmmaker, kind of self-taught. I took like one basic film class, and this was really just about the love that I felt from the people of the group, and being inspired by the energy and all the creative spirits that I was meeting, and just being juiced to share the story of this particular group with everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Awesome job. Thank you. Now we heard a little bit in the film from Monica Hastings, who leads the bateria of Sambafunk. But Monica, why don't you come on up and give us a few words about your background?
Queen Monica. Queen of Beats, DST.
Y'all. Sound person, I'm kind of ringy up here. Hey, what's happening, everybody? My name's Monica Hastings Smith, and I'm a FunkQuarian, and I had some things I wanted to say, but I find myself very emotionally overwhelmed watching the movie again, because, yeah, those are my folks, and that was such an earnest effort, you know. Thank you. This was so beautiful. Great job. That's my homegirl, but wow. So?
It's all right. It's all right.
So anyway, I'm a Carnavalesque. I'm coming up on my 20. I got another year. I'm coming up on 20 years being a Carnavalesque.
Oh yeah.
And so much like I grew up in Oakland, and my awakening, I don't really remember being awakened to drums, because it was always around me, you know. My mom worked on the UC Berkeley campus, and I was always around campus, so there was always a lot of congueros on campus, a lot of rumberos that played in the plaza there. And so I was, just as a kid, just always very aware of congueros and drumming, and what that made me feel as a kid. I danced and took dance classes. So anyway, I went to Carnaval one year and saw Fogo na Roupa and the Escola Nova de Samba, a bunch of samba schools, and my mind got turned around. I don't know, like every year, couple of years, like, I don't know, the magnetic field flips on the universe, and the sun, stuff, you know, there's all kinds of cosmic stuff that happens in the world, stuff flips. And for me, that experience flipped my whole being. And so I chased them down and found them. I had little kids and started bringing my kids to class, and so that was the beginning of it, being with Fogo. And then away from that, after Carlos passed away very suddenly, a heartbreak for the whole community. And when I found out when Theo contacted me and let me know that he was starting it again, I was ready. And it's in the space at the Malonga Center, which used to be the Alice Art Center, but now named after Malonga Cascalor, one of our giants of African drumming.
That's right.
Who passed away very suddenly. And so that is a center of the universe. Like, that is it has its own gravitational pull in the African culture universe. And so being there on Sundays at 2 o'clock with Fogo and now with Theo is just, it's just part of my universe.
I'm happy you said 2.
Also.
Because we're at 4, but now you can start rehearsals at 2.
Oh.
Rehearsals now start at 2.
Sorry,
Thanks to Monica.
Sorry, 4. That's when the drummers used to start at 2.
So I'd like to kind of expand a little bit. We saw in the movie that there are such significant reasons for this kind of cultural expression to exist. And you mentioned remembering the ancestors and passing on the culture to children, and letting people feel affirmed in their space and in their skin and in their background. How do you see all of those values playing out now in kind of the world we're in, the political times we're in, facing local issues such as gentrification, wealth inequality, and so on? How did those values sustain us in these times? Let's start with you, Theo.
I was going to say, I was going to pass to Monica, but
Go ahead, pass.
Well, I think once again we see that we have to be intentional. And it's about our intentions, right? Because the cultura is always under attack. It's undervalued.
That's right.
And people, I use this analogy where people go into developing countries. Some people say third world countries. I don't use that term myself, but economically developing countries, and they like the fruits of the country, meaning they want the food, they want the music, they want the dancing girls, but then they don't want the poverty. They don't want to deal with the lack of access. They don't want to deal with the racism. They don't want to deal with any of the societal issues that come in the community. They just want the good things, right? But it's in its totality. We have to take the cultura in its totality. We can't only access part of it. So I think now, with so much that's going on, especially in our country, we have to be very intentional and not just make, I kind of said it in the film, but not just make music for music's sake, you know, just to be dancing and just shaking around. That's cool, that's good, but it has to be deeper than that, because our cultures, you know, drum and dance went together for a specific reason. You did a certain dance, a certain drum pattern when someone's having a baby, and you did a different one when someone's graduating. You did a different one when someone passed, and you did a different one when an elder passed and when an infant passed. So it has to be very intentional. We have to get back to that state with intentional art, intentional culture.
Monica?
I think that I mean, somebody shouted out the word Samba Church when we were looking at class. I mean, it's a ritual. I mean, just really clearly, like, we are bringing ritual to daily life, and this is what makes our life meaningful. This is what ties us to the countless generations. This is what ties us to the earth. This is what ties us to the cycles of the seasons. This is what ties us to the tides that come in and out. Like, this is an expression of ancestors. It's an expression of earth. It's an expression of timeless things. And so this is what we hang on to when things don't make any sense. We hang on to the timeless.
When I think of Carnival, you know, I think of, now that I understand what it means, I think about, you know, the Africans that were brought to this land, and when they celebrated these traditions, it was one of the only things that they had to hold on to. Everything had been taken from them, taken. This is the only thing that they had that was theirs. And it was sacred. And if you think about now, if you think about culture and community, sometimes it's the only thing that some people have that keeps them strong, that keeps them grounded, that keeps them rooted in who they are when everything around you is crumbling. And if you have your foundation, if you have your roots, then you can find strength in that to move forward. And you can find joy in that. You can be grateful for that small thing. And for the Africans that were brought here, for the ancestors that were brought here, to be able to just have that one small thing to bring them joy, you know, it's just a sacred feeling. And to be able to express that even now in present day, you know, with all the gentrification that's happening around us, people being displaced, people being pushed out of their communities, having nothing to hold on to except a feeling. And if this is the only feeling that they can hold on to, then we got to preserve that. We have to maintain it. We have to find a way to sustain it.
So those are all wonderful and very meaningful values. But I think an organization like Sambafunk also provides kind of a social function too. It builds community, as we saw in the film. I was really interested in the comment. One of the people who was interviewed said that he was a newcomer, and he had just come from back east, and he just plopped right down into the community and embraced Sambafunk, which embraced him back, and all of a sudden he belonged. And as a Carnaval member, that's kind of what we're looking for. That's the whole point of Carnaval San Francisco, is to include people and let people know that they belong to these various arts organizations. So can you address the sense of community that you build with Sambafunk?
I mean, that's one of the first things that drew me to the group was the, you know, what it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to this dance class, I love these drums. It was really, wow, these people, they're really riding for each other. They're really uplifting each other. They don't know each other, but everybody's like just ready to ride for you. Oh, you got this project? Okay, we gonna be there. We don't know you. What's your name again? We gonna be there. It was just really, you know, you don't find that in the regular world. You don't find people ready to just have your back like that as far as being an artist and being, you know, putting your passion out to the world, and people just ready to just go ride for you like that. So that's what I was drawn to, you know, and of course the drums and the, you know, the dance, that's all, you know, just part of it, but that's really what drew me to the group, was having a sense of, you know, these are grown people I've never met before, but everybody is just welcoming. And it's hard to find that. Once you get to a certain age, you know, not everybody's willing to just bring you into their space.
That's right.
So I was really very grateful for that.
Yeah, we like to get together and hang out, and eat and drink and have fun together. I credit Theo's ancestors for that legacy of knowing that food connects people. You know, social time together, like almost every well, I'm not going to tell you about the early days of Sambafunk, because we hung out like
It's okay.
we hung out like a slip, you know. We were always hanging out, and so we had a bond together. And it's just part of the fabric of Sambafunk. It's not. I mean, but I credit your ancestors. I mean, it could have started a whole different way, where it was very art focused and very dance focused and very music, and everybody sweating and fretting about cultural appropriateness and did we play this rhythm exactly the way it was supposed to be played. And there's a time and a place to honor the roots of a rhythm, of a dance, of a color, of a season, of all those things. But there's also time to just hang out and have fun. And we did that. And to Theo's ancestors' credit, just reminding him that that's how people come together, and that's where the glue between the people is made. We have bonds between ourselves that we're family. Like, there's no question about it. We consider ourselves family. And we show up for weddings, babies, graduations. When people move, people have been displaced from their homes, and we show up, we bring food, we help them move, we move people in, we've moved them out, we've seen people through illnesses, parents passing.
That's right.
This is who we are, and it's very intentional. And it's not for everybody, but for those who it is for, it's, you know, come jump in the pool.
And I would just to add to Monica's, they have created their own community. I just see myself as a catalyst. Bill Graham, everybody's from the Bay, so most of you all have heard of Bill Graham. If you haven't, he's the legendary rock and roll promoter. He promoted a lot of bands out of the Bay from the 60s, and he innovated outdoor concerts through this concert series called Day on the Green. And the local that I'm in, side note, actually helped do all the work at Local 107 at the Coliseum. But the point is that they have, when I say they, I mean the FunkQuarians, the members, have created and made their own connections, and they're their own best friends. And I don't look at it as something that I did, but I look at it as being an advocate for the culture, because the culture will do the work. You just put the platform out there and present the culture to folks, and the folks will gravitate to the culture. And they're best friends. They babysit for one another. And you know, in the very beginning, when this came out a couple of years ago, and you know, in the Bay Area, things are competitive, and in the samba schools, it's just as competitive, and people are competing for dancers and competing for drummers and competing for all these different things. We talked about competition. And as a young artistic director, I didn't go to school to be artistic director. I didn't go for arts management. My background is in media and PR. So I was a lot more what's the word? Not vulnerable, but insecure. I was a lot more insecure as a young director, and I really wanted to have my artists, our Sambafunk artists here. Like, I was very insecure about if the artists would work with other companies and with other artists and do other things, because when I came up with Fogo, I only worked with Carlos. That was it. I was just only Fogo. When I wasn't doing that, I might have did Cumbia, but I didn't do any other Brazilian group. And that's just, I came from a whole different school of whatever. So I've evolved into knowing that you can't hold anything in, because there's nothing really to hold, because it's all energy, and all energy is moving.
That's right.
Even we're moving energy even as we think we're sitting, right? Our blood is going through our veins and molecules and whatnot. So, you know, just evolving in that sense and seeing that, you know, folks are still supportive and still loyal and are still here. A lot of the folks are here. And before we go too far, I want to say to the people, some of the FunkQuarians that are here, if you were in the film, if you had a voice, if your words or your images were in that film, will you stand so people can see some of the FunkQuarians that were there?
Stand up.
Thank you. So, and the last thing I'll just add on that is, once again, I'm very super proud of being raised Pentecostal. There's a lot of things I don't really get down with, how people go to heaven and hell. That's for people to do. But the African expression of the music, the joy, the singing, the ritual, I really connect with and still do connect. Yeah, I have 100 cousins or more in Oakland. So the whole community aspect of building family, and to speak to your question, is, yeah, that's was one of the things that I saw that we had in Fogo when I was a part of Fogo, and Fogo still has to this day. But we wanted to make sure, very intentional, that we had community in our project.
And it's obvious when you look at that film, when you look at your presentation in Carnaval. And speaking of your presentation, I said earlier that you guys are known, especially with us Carnaval people, as one of the highlights of the parade. We know that you guys are going to put together a really good show. And of course, we want that. You know, that's what we're producing the event, but it's up to the artists to bring it, to bring the artistry. So we appreciate that from you guys. And in regard to the artistic expression, you guys have a theme every year. And I know Carnaval San Francisco also has a theme, and sometimes your theme kind of works in with ours, which is we appreciate. But how do you come up with a theme, and then how do you figure out how you're going to express that theme through dance and music and costumes? Anyone can pick that up.
I can answer that.
He's the only one that can answer that.
The artistic director, yes.
No. What I've come to, first of all, it comes from the Most High and the ancestors. They lead the way in that. It has to be divinely given. And what I've learned is it has to have the highest level of cultural integrity and cultural excellence. Real short, I feel super blessed to be among these dynamic sisters and awesome brothers. I tell them on a regular basis, thank you for allowing me to offer this direction for us. Because we're a volunteer-based organization. Everybody has a job.
Talk about that.
I have a job. You know what I'm saying? I don't get paid off Sambafunk. I'm a volunteer, right?
That's
so
real
there are
talk.
Situations where maybe we have a drumming gig or a band gig, and there's $50 or $100 to share among some members, but everybody works. You know, we do this because, you know, we love the culture. But, so I do take suggestions these days, but basically, if we have 100, 150, how many ever people we put out on the street, it has to be with intention. It cannot just be out there just to go out there and just to have fun and have pretty colors on and feathers. Our organization we definitely represent samba to a degree, but as you see in the presentation, we have a small level of samba dancers, what people think of feathers, represented. Actually, only the last few years that we've been doing Carnival have we even incorporated feathers into our
That's right.
presentation. We've done most of our presentations without feathers, and we've actually really prided ourselves to be able to still be artistically presentable and not rely on beautiful feathers and big feathery costumes. But what is the artistic content that you're giving all 100 people or 150 people or whatever? So yeah, I meditate on it, and I look at the theme from Carnaval and see how we can incorporate that into our intention for that year. And yeah, this year we're dedicating part of our Carnival theme to our mestre, Carlos Aceituno. So we've never done anything to recognize Carlos, so we figured that on the 40th anniversary of the Carnival of San Francisco, he was such a big
Carlos
in Carnival, so we're dedicating part of our Carnival stuff.
And that is absolutely appropriate because the Carnaval San Francisco theme this year is Raíces del Carnaval, or Roots of Carnival, and Carlos has been there from the beginning and is one of our strongest roots or foundational people associated with Carnival, so that's wonderful that you're doing that. Monica, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the drum group, the contingent that you put together, the Bateria. Are there any of her drummers out here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bateria.
Yeah.
Hey,
Bateria.
watch out if you're sitting next to one of them.
So how do you, as an expert in this style of drumming, how do you work with a variety of levels of talent, let's say? People who come in who are just really excited about being part of this and want to learn and may not know anything about the rhythms and the rhythm you're teaching. And yet you also have some of the very seasoned, experienced players who are probably masters in their own right. So how do you work as a teacher to kind of bridge that gap between novices and masters?
Oh God. Yeah, sometimes that happens just in the moment. I want to acknowledge the actual current Bateria leader right now. DJ, where are you at? DJ? Hey! So Young Lions, Mari is actually our Bateria leader right now. But yes, to your question, how do I do it? You know, the rhythms that I learned that were taught to me, not on paper, just by do it, is how I teach it, just do it. So it takes somebody's willingness to lean in. I mean, if you show up for a drum class, I mean, you know you got to do something. I mean, you know, you got to lean in. It's time to lean in. I think one thing that we have going for us is that we base a lot of our rhythms and our work around funk. And so, you know, African-based and African-American music is pervasive in American culture. It's pervasive in Latino culture. It's pervasive in European culture. And so really, so like choreographers and musicians are alike in the sense that you don't ring out every note one by one. There are phrases, there's a vocabulary that goes along with culture. And so if I just go, ba 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 da da, ba ba. There, I just taught a bunch of novices. Right? So you just lean on what people already know. Things like just playing a heartbeat rhythm. Boom, 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 da da, boom, boom, da da, boom, boom. So you give somebody a place to lean in, and it's their heartbeat. You know how to play a heartbeat. If you're a dancer,